Yes, let's start today's session. So in the last session, we just discussed introduction to .NET. Okay, so what is .NET and what kind of applications we can develop using .NET, and what are the versions of .NET framework and what are the versions of Visual Studio we discussed in the last session. And today we'll continue few more introduction part of .NET. And first, I would like to discuss about code execution process in .NET, sir. Okay. First, I would like to start with code execution process, code execution process in .NET. So whenever we write a code using C#.NET or any other programming language of .NET, when we try to execute the code, then how it is going to be processed internally. Yes, every .NET programmer must and should aware this code execution process. When we write C#.NET code or any other programming language of code, okay, any other programming language of .NET code means VB or C, J# or F#. So how code is going to be executed internally. And generally, when we consider C or C++ language, code is going to be compiled only once. The source code, whatever we write in our programming, and that code is generally compiled by respective language compiler and produce bytecode or system understandable code, and that can be transferred to operating system for further process. But when it comes to .NET code execution process, there are two compilations takes place, sir. How many compilations? Two compilations will take place. Okay, so what are the two compilation? And in first compilation, in second compilation, how it will process? I'll show you diagrammatic representation clearly. Okay, let's show the diagrammatic representation of code execution process in .NET. This is completely code execution process in .NET. Let's try to open. This is code execution process. So look at this diagram. So as I said, two compilations will take place in .NET framework execution, .NET code execution. In first compilation, generally source code is compiled by language compiler. Okay, source code is compiled by language compiler. Source code means any programming language code. For example, if you write code in C#.NET, that is source code. So every programming language is having respective language compiler, and source code is compiled by respective language compiler. For example, if you write code in C#.NET, then C# language compiler is available. And source code is compiled by respective language compiler. After successful compilation, then MSL code will be generated. Microsoft Intermediate Language Code, or Common Intermediate Language Code, or Intermediate Language Code. Okay, so this is MSIL code or CIL code or IL code, any code. This code is just a Microsoft format only, Microsoft framework format only. It is just a English language format only. It's not a binary format. You know, our computer will understand that completely binary format, but it's not a binary format, sir. So up to here, first compilations will take place. In second compilation, this MSIL code can be transferred to CLR. CLR. CLR is the main component of .NET Framework execution, sir. Okay, CLR is the main component of .NET Framework execution. Common language runtime. How Java people will use JVM, like Java Virtual Machine, and same .NET programmers will use CLR. CLR is a main component of .NET Framework, and it is used to provide runtime environment for .NET applications. CLR will provide runtime environment for .NET applications. So, and in this CLR, JIT is there. This is just-in-time compiler. Okay, so MSL code can be transferred to CLR, and under the CLR there is one more compiler is there, JIT, just-in-time compiler, and this compiler can be compiled by language. This compiler can be compiled this MSL code and transferred to CLR, and CLR will execute that code and it will produce what's a native code. Native means local to the operating system. This code is called bytecode or system understandable code or mission code, we can say that. This code can be transferred to operating system. Okay, so this is going to happen when we try to write program, and when we go for compile and execution of .NET framework, you'll be able to see this internally. This process is going to happen. How many compilations are? Two compilations. In first compilation, source code is compiled by language compiler and then produce MSL code. In second compilation, MSL code can be compiled by JIT compiler and it's going to be executed by CLR. And after that, it's provide native code, and this code can be transferred to operating system. Okay, yes. Next, coming to the thing, SSC means source code, LC means language compiler, MSL means Microsoft Intermediate Language, CIL means Common Intermediate Language, IL means Intermediate Language, CLR means Common Language Runtime, JIT means Just-in-Time Compiler. Okay, but here one important thing: always second compilation is faster rate of first compilation, faster rate than first compilation, because first compilation is always slow, because 60 to 70% of the code is processed in first compilation, but rest of the code can be processed in second compilation, sir. Understand? Yes. So JIT compiler is a faster rate of compiler than normal language compilation, sir. Understand? Yes. So this is first compilation and second compilation difference, and what the way it will be processed internally. But as a programmer, we don't think so. Like, we directly write code in C#.NET with Visual Studio environment, and just one button, if you press run or F5 button, then you immediately will get output. But behind the scenes, this process is going to happen, sir. Understand? Yes. Apart from this code execution process, let's go to .NET Framework components. Yes, as we discussed, .NET Framework is a collection of class libraries. What is .NET Framework? It's a collection of class libraries. Whenever we install .NET Framework software, you will be get plenty of class libraries, sir, automatically in your computer. And without a .NET Framework, there is no .NET for sure. Even if you don't have .NET Framework software, you can't implement any applications without a .NET Framework. Okay, yes. So when we install .NET Framework software, we'll be get the .NET Framework components. .NET Framework components. Components. What are the .NET Framework components? .NET Framework components are two types. One is CLR. First one is CLR. Next one is BCL. BCL. CLR, first one, that is Common Language Common Language Runtime. Okay, and BCL, it stands for Base Class Library. Base Class Library. Base Class Library. It also called as FCL, sir. FCL means Framework Class Library. Both are same. Framework Class Library. Framework Class Library. Okay, yes. So this also called as assemblies. Yes, both all are same, sir. Assemblies are base class libraries or framework class libraries, we can say that. So any one we can call it as. So first we'll talk about CLR, then later we'll go for base class library. As we discussed, CLR is the main component of .NET framework. The name itself, the definition is there. It is called a common language runtime, we can say that. Common language runtime means it provide runtime environment for all common languages which are supported to .NET. It will provide runtime environment for all common languages. Yes, .NET supports how many programming languages? I said 60 plus programming languages. So in that you can choose any language. So as per my requirement, for example, I may choose C# and you may choose VB and some other may choose J#. No matter what programming language if you choose, and CLR should be ready to provide runtime or execution environment. So that stands for common language runtime. It will provide language runtime environment commonly to all programming languages. That's what we can say common language runtime it is called as. Okay, CLR stands for common language runtime. Next, common language runtime, it's okay. Next, base class library is different actually. I'll tell you base class libraries later. But actually, CLR is a main component. It's having sub-components. 4 sub-components are there, sir. One is CLS. CLS. It stands for Common common language specification. Common language specification. Okay, it stands for common language specification. Next one is CTS. CTS means common type system. Common type system. These are the subcomponents. Why these subcomponents also I'll tell you. Next one is GC, means garbage collector. Garbage collector. Garbage collector. Garbage collector. Okay, garbage collector. Next JIT. JIT. JIT stands for just-in-time compiler. Just-in-time compiler, sir. CLS it stands for common language specification, and CTS common type system, and GC garbage collector, and just-in-time compiler JIT. These four are subcomponents of what's a CLR only. Why sir these four subcomponents? Yes. Why? Because CLR cannot understand any other programming languages syntactical rules and regulations, and CLR cannot understand any other programming language data type systems. That's the reason CLR can use internally these subcomponents. So I will tell you each and every subcomponent for what purpose. So every programming language syntactical rules and regulations are different, sir. For example, you are choosing C#.NET. C#.NET syntactical rules and regulations are different. VB.NET syntactical rules and regulations are different. And J#.NET syntactical rules and regulations different. But one programming language cannot understand other programming language syntactical rules and regulations. Understand? So that's the case. CLR can't understand other programming language rules and regulations. But while executing the code, okay, so this CLS is going to take responsible to convert all programming language syntactical rules and regulations into CLR understandable format. Why? Because CLR don't know what programming language, how they'll write, how they written code, and they cannot CLR cannot understand syntactical rules and regulations of all programming language. So that's what common language specification is there. It is a subcomponent of CLR. It is used to take responsibility to convert all programming language syntactical rules and regulations into CLR understandable format. At the same time, CTS is there, common type system. This is also called as what's a data type system. What is this data type system? Do you think every programming language data types are common? Every programming language data types are same? No, sir. Because C#.NET data types are different, VB.NET data types are different, and even other programming language of .NET data types are different. So here same like CLR is having its own data type system, but while writing code, if you are trying to what we can say, if you are trying to if you are trying to mention different programming language data types, and while that programming language code execute under CLR, but CLR can't understand that programming language rules and regulations. But who should responsible to convert all programming language data type system into CLR data type system in CTS component. So CTS is a common type system which is used to convert from all programming language data type system into CLR data type system format. Why? Because CLR is having its own data type system format, sir. Okay, that's what it is, a common type system or data type system, we can say that. Next, garbage collector. Okay, garbage collector. Garbage collector is provide automatic memory management. Automatic memory management means what? Automatic memory management. Automatic memory management. Memory management. See, generally, if we take any programming language, compulsory memory management is required. Okay, without memory management, your code may not run perfectly. So, but nowadays, every programming language is having a built-in garbage collector. So that purpose of built-in garbage collector is automatic memory management, sir. Automatic memory management, automatically memory can be managed. Yes, it's going to be managed. So that's what actually in C#.NET, even any other programming language of .NET, we don't write any explicit code for memory management, sir, because garbage collector is there. So that garbage collector will provide automatic memory management. Okay, so that garbage collector will provide automatic memory management. Okay, how it will provide in coming session we'll discuss in detail with the diagrammatic representation. Simple automatic memory management means what? See, general case is what? Whenever we create objects to the class or objects to your application, okay, as long as while executing that program, that objects need some memory. Yes, we should allot them. Once execution is complete, that object should be destroyed the memory. Okay, that memory should be destroyed from the references. So then only it's going to be work fine because no one is there to destroy the memory and no one is there to delete the memory from references. Then automatically sometimes we'll get insufficient memory problems are there. So to avoid that, then garbage collector automatically will cross verified whichever the objects are really needed memory and whichever it is not required memory, that will do by garbage collector. Automatic memory management means unused objects will destroy it from the memory. Useful objects will keep in the memory, and will useful objects purpose it will assign memory. That is garbage collector mechanism. So in .NET Framework, no need to worry about memory management as a programmer. We will not write any explicit code because garbage collector will take care of everything that automatically memory management is going to happen by GC. Next, JIT, just-in-time compiler. Just now we discussed code execution process in .NET. So just-in-time compiler is a compiler which is used in second compilation of .NET program execution. Always just-in-time compiler is a faster rate of compiler than normal compilation. These four subcomponents are associated with what's a main component that is called CLR, Common Language Runtime. Okay, yes. Now coming to this base class library. See, I'm going to conclude that without CLR, you can't you can't run programs, sir. You can't execute your program. Without CLR, you can't execute your program. Execution of program is not possible if you don't have CLR. Okay, common language runtime is nothing but it's provide runtime environment. For every program, runtime environment is required. So that's what I'm saying, that without CLR you can't run your program. Okay, but base class libraries are also important, sir. If you want to write program, compulsory base class libraries are required. What is required? Base class libraries are required, sir. So base class libraries are building blocks of .NET Framework. Base class libraries are building blocks of .NET Framework. And how C++ programmers will use header files before writing code, and how Java programmers will use packages, same how Python programmers will use modules, same .NET programmers will use base class libraries or namespaces, we can call it as. Yes, namespaces or base class libraries, we can say that. This is BCL or framework class libraries or assemblies. Assembly means group of classes. These are building blocks of .NET Framework, sir. Actually, when we install .NET Framework software, automatically these base class libraries gets installed into our computer, sir. But if I want to see that the base class libraries where it installed, okay, so in your computer location. So this is the physical location of base class library. Physical location of base class library, BCL. What is the physical location of base class library? Look at here. Root to drive, root to drive, root to drive, colon slash OS folder, OS folder slash assembly folder, assembly folder. Root to drive means what's a C drive slash operating system folder. OS folder means Windows only, Windows. Then assembly folder, yes, assembly means group of classes. Assembly is there. So this has to be checked after successful installation of .NET Framework only, sir. Once we install .NET Framework software, then only we will find this C colon slash Windows slash assembly folder. Understand? Yes. Let's try to do this. C colon slash Windows slash assembly folder. So I'm going to check in my computer because already in my computer I installed .NET Framework software. So let's try to run this.
Now you can see, go to my computer, local disk C drive, and Windows folder, double click on it. This is root drive, and there is assembly folder. You will be able to see that. You can say assembly folder, double click on it, and there is a MSL format with it. These are all building blocks of .NET Framework. These are built-in base class libraries which will come automatically when we install .NET Framework software. Using these libraries only, we can able to do some program and some applications. As I said, that Microsoft people are providing a lot of built-in built-in class libraries. Built-in means predefined class library. Once we install .NET Framework software, automatically that predefined class libraries will be installed. Okay, using that predefined class libraries only, we can develop some applications. What application? .NET applications. Understand? Yes. So, root drive, OS folder, assembly folder. C drive is a root drive. Windows is a operating system folder. Assembly is a application. Assembly means group of application folder. So, without base class libraries, you can't write a program. Even writing program also not possible without base class library. After writing code by using base class library, if you want to execute your program, then what is required, sir? CLR is required. So both components are compulsory. One component is for writing code. What is that base class library? Another component is for executing your code, which is writing code base class library, which is executing code CLR. These two are .NET Framework components. These two components are very, very important. Okay. Yes. Now coming to the GC, garbage collector, as I discussed that it will provide automatic memory management. How garbage collector will provide automatic memory management? What is the internal process of automatic memory management? We'll discuss now. Okay, let's try to do this. I'm trying to show you internal process of automatic memory management, garbage collector. So I have some diagram. Let me show with the diagram, clear explanation I'll do. GC, yes, this is the garbage collector. But for your kind information, it's completely work with managed heaps. Managed heap means heap mechanism. Heap means random memory location. Okay. Yes, garbage collector is completely work with heap mechanism, and garbage collector is divided into always three generations. That is generation 0, generation 1, and generation 2. And garbage collector generations always generation 0 is less than, generation 1 is less than, generation 2, sir. Generation 0 is less than, generation 1 is less than, generation 2. Meaning is what? First generation 0 portion of the size of the portion, this portion size is less. For example, 10 MB. And generation 1 portion size is 20 MB. Okay. And generation 2 size is 30 MB. This 10 MB, 20 MB, 30 MB, just for your understanding purpose, I took in this diagram. But actually, who will allot the memory to this generations are garbage CLR will allot, sir, mainly. Why? Because GC, garbage collector, is a subcomponent of CLR only. Understand? Yes, CLR will allot memory that. CLR will allot memory to the garbage collector generations. Based on what it will allot? Yes, according to project size or application size, CLR will allot memory to the garbage collector generations. If project size is more, and automatically this size will be expand, size will be increased. And one more thing, in garbage collector, there is a thumb rule or constant rule. What is constant rule? Always newly created objects will be placed into generation 0 only. Where it should be placed? Generation 0. Always newly created object will be placed into generation 0. Like for example, object 1, object 2, object 3, objects 4, 5, 6, 7 objects I created. 7 objects are placed into where? Generation 0. Yes, it has to be stored in generation 0 only. And moreover, garbage collector don't have any right to place newly created objects either in generation 1 or in generation 2. It's not having any rights, sir. Okay. So always garbage collector will place newly created objects into generation 0. For example, assume that there is object 8 is created by programmer. What object? Object 8. That object 8, according to our discussion, it has to store into where? Generation 0 only. Yes, sir? Yes. But generation 0 is become full, sir. Yes, it's become completely full. because already 7 objects are available in generation 0. If 7 objects are available in generation 0, then object 8 will wait outside, and meanwhile garbage collector will have internally a special method called a special engine called optimized engine. Garbage collector is having what's up? Optimized engine is there. Optimized engine. Optimized engine. This optimized engine will divide the objects into two categories. One is objects in use. Next one is idled objects. Idled objects in use and idled objects. Understand? So objects in use and idled objects. Objects in use means useful objects. Idled objects means garbage objects. Garbage. Yes, garbage objects only. Understand? Objects in use means useful object. Idled objects means garbage objects only. Okay. Yes. Now coming to the thing, this idled object should be destroyed from the memory. Objects in use should be kept in the memory. This process is called automatic memory management. So how optimized engine will check inside this generation 0 out of 7 objects, which objects are useful and which objects are not useful means optimized engine will perform a special method called collection means method. What method? Collection means method. Using this collection means method, okay, then optimized engine will divide these all objects into two categories. One is objects in use, another one is idled objects. Idled objects are destroyed from generation 0. Useful objects are means objects in use are flushed down automatically into generation 1. Means look at here, 4, 5, 6, 7 is there. These objects are automatically flushed down into generation 1. Okay, and 1, 2, 3 objects are destroyed from the generation 0. Totally, this generation 0 will become empty. The newly created object will be placed into generation 0. 8th object. Sir, what happens if generation 0 as well as generation 1, both generations are going to become full? What will happen, sir? Yes, at that time also, garbage collector optimized engine will perform collection means method. And both generations, in this both generations, which will be useful objects and which are the idled objects, it will find. Idled object can be destroyed from both generations, and useful objects will be adjusted in these two generations. If not adjustable, then automatically this generation 1 useful objects will come down into generation 2, that means flush down, and generation 0 useful objects will flush down into generation 1, and automatically generation 0 will become empty, and newly created object will be stored into generation 0, sir. So this is the working style of garbage collector actually here. Okay, so like this way, memory management will happen by using garbage collector. While executing code, CLR responsibility is only memory allotment. Memory allotment purpose under the CLR, who is the NGC? CTS, what is the responsibility? This CTS, common type system subcomponent, is responsible to convert from all programming language data type system into CLR data type system. And CLS, common language specification, responsible is what? To convert all programming language syntactical rules and regulations into CLR understandable format. So every subcomponent is having its own rules are. Okay. So CLR, without CLR, we can't run your .NET program. Without base class libraries, you can't write a program yet. This is .NET framework, .NET framework components, and this is completely introduction part of .NET. Next, we'll start with C#.NET. Before going to enter into programming part, I need to give some important points related to C#.NET. First thing is C#.NET is a programming language, sir. What is that? It's a programming language. Generally, using programming language, what we can do? We can write some logic part of the application. Using programming language, we can write some logic part of the application. So why we need to write logic part? Because to develop some application code. Okay, without writing logic code, we can't develop application. So C#.NET is a programming language which is used to write logic part for the application development. And using C#.NET, we can write completely programming part. And next, C#.NET is most powerful programming language because it's almost equals to C++ plus VB 6.0 plus Java plus additional features. Means Java features whatever it is there, and C++ features whatever it is there, and uh, VB 6.0 programming language whatever features are there plus additional features, everything we can find in one language, that is C#.NET. And C#.NET is a high-level programming language. That means we need not to write any code for security and memory management. That is low-level activities. We cannot write any code. And C#.NET is a general-purpose programming language. General purpose means what? If a programming language is general purpose, that means using that programming language, we can develop any type of applications like console applications, Windows Forms applications, web applications, what we can say, Windows services, web services. In the last session, we discussed types of applications, how many we will develop using C#.NET. It's a general purpose programming language. And moreover, C#.NET is a case sensitive programming language, sir. What is this, sir? Case sensitive. Case sensitive means how the way you declare variables and functions and classes in C#.NET programming. And while trying to access that variables and functions and all, you have to access in same way only, not in different way. Suppose you are declaring small letters, but you have to access using small letters only, not uppercase and other things. Okay, so C#.NET is completely case sensitive programming language. And in C#.NET, first and foremost, basic application what we'll discuss. Yes, complete C#.NET 60% of the syllabus I'll cover within this application only, that is console applications. What is console application? Console application is a standalone or desktop application. What is this? Console application is a standalone or desktop application. Okay. Now, console application programs are just like C++ programs, like command prompt programs like that. When we write C language or C++ code, when we execute that, that output will be shown in the command prompt. Same like that, we'll see console basic programs. And next, console application. In console application, console is a class. What is this? Console is a class. Console is a class, sir. It is a class which is present in system namespace. It is present in system namespace. System namespace. Console is a class which is present in which namespace? System namespace. Namespace is nothing but what's that? Library. Like C++ programmers will use header files, no? Same like in .NET, if you want to work with console application, you have to import header file like this system using system namespace at the header section. But we need not to use using system namespace at the header section. Why? Because based on a selection of application while creating type of application, automatically whichever the required libraries, that automatically will display in the header section only, sir. Okay. Console is a class which is present in system namespace, and this is the system namespace. And console class is used to work with input and output stream. Okay, what is the use of console class? Console class is used to work with the console class is used to work with input and output streams. Input and output streams. Console class is used to work with input and output streams. Okay, if you want to give input to the application, then we can use console class. Or if you want to get output from the application, then we can use console class. And console class is having methods. What methods? Write method. Write method is there. And write line method is there. Write line. Write line. Read method. Read method. Read line. The read line method is there. Okay. Write line. Read line. Okay. Write line and read line. What is the use of write and write line? Write line methods are output methods. If you want to display something to the user in the output window, then we can use console.write hello. You can say that. Okay, this is output purpose. And read line methods are input purpose. Input means if you want to accept something from the user side. Okay, if you want to ask, please enter something means you can input how to accept input read and read line. So difference between write and write line method is what? Write method, if I use, the statements will be displayed onto the screen same line only. Same line only means like if I'm doing this console dot write method I'm using. Hello Durga Soft I'm writing. Hello Durga Soft I'm taking. And output how it will be displayed, hello is same line, Durga Soft also same line because of write method I use. For example, if I use write line method, okay, write line method is used to display statement onto the screen line by line. Hello is present in one line and Durga Soft is present in other line. This is hello Durga Soft line by line only. This is console.writeline, hello and Durga Soft is coming. So these are what actually the write line methods are for output. Input purpose we have to use read and read line. For example, if I am asking enter a name, just I am asking in the output window. We have to enter my name. So as soon as whenever I am giving input, this input should read by the application. For that we use read or read line is there. But what is the difference between read and read line? Read method will read input from the user, but read method will read single characters, sir. M first, then O next, then H next, A next, N next, like that one. Okay. Read method will read inputs from the user and it will read one by one character like this. And that too read method will read what ASCII value of the character. ASCII value of the character. American Standard Code for Information Interchange. This is an integer type only. So that's what return type of read method is what, for integer. Why integer? Because read method will read user inputs and read method will read single characters from the user, and also directly it will not read character, it will read ASCII value of the character. Always ASCII value of the character is integer type only. So that's what we are getting, integer type, return type only. But whereas read line method is used to read group of characters. Group of character means what? Total characters will be read as a group. Total characters are going to be read. Total characters means string variety. The return type of read line method is what's a string only. String is return type. It's a return type of read line method. Understand? So these are write and write line, read and read line. But these methods are associated with class, console class. Class name dot method name. Class name dot method name compulsory required. Okay. So this is the basic session of console application with C#.NET and how to prepare console application and how to open Visual Studio after installation. How to work with basic programs will be discussed in tomorrow's session. Okay. So this is about today's session. And do you have any queries? You can feel free to ask me. Okay. So yesterday's session also I have joined actually, but unfortunately you joined late. That's what we left it. Okay. Yes. No, my video sessions are completely lifetime access, sir. Not 6 months or something. Once you get, you can access at any time. Even in the middle, any trouble while accessing my videos, you can send request and I'll assist you clearly. No issues at all. Okay. Yes, every session is recording. That recorded videos will send to your Google Drive. No issues at all. Any question? Any question, Mr. Vikas Kumar? Hello, can you hear me? I'm not here. I'm not getting your voice. If you want anything, you can type in chat box. At least I'll get the information. Yes. See you tomorrow, sir. On same day.